Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Don't you just love an upset? Especially when it's kind of out of the blue, you know. There can't have been many people who thought Marlon Tapales would beat Murodjon Akhmadaliev. But Tapales of the Philippines becomes the new IBF and WBA super-bantamweight champ. He's a former WBO bantamweight champ. He held that briefly. But no one, no one really picked him to beat Akhmadaliev. Akhmadaliev came in with a spotless record, 11 wins, no defeats, 8 KOs. And Tapales, Akhmadaliev's 28. Tapales is 31 from the Philippines. Like I say, a former champ. Hasn't lost since 2019 when he got stopped in Japan in the 11th round against a fighter whose name escapes me. I think it was Iwasawa or Iwasa or something like that. I should have looked up, shouldn't I? But that was for an IBF interim super bantamweight title. So not really a world title, is it? If it's an interim, I don't know how they work these things, but this was legit against Akhmadaliev. He was a rank underdog. He came in, and from the word go, he was giving Akhmadaliev problems because it was so obvious that Tapales had come to win. He was very often he'd have a tight guard, and then he'd very often drop his right hand to protect his ribs. He'd have quite a low right hand, so it was making it awkward for some body work from Akhmadaliev. Akhmadaliev, good pressure fighter, comes forward. He always seemed a step behind for the first half of the fight. Tapales was putting it on him, pot-shotting very often, sort of leaping in with individual punches, and then he might fire a 2 or 3 when he felt a little bit more confident. But he was definitely moving a lot, lots of herky-jerky movements. Akhmadaliev couldn't find his rhythm, wasn't keeping the pressure on him, and it always looked, for the first 5-6 rounds, it looked like Akhmadaliev was constantly a step behind, unable to set himself, was kept off balance, constantly having to reset. And when you consider that, you know, he carries his power late, because in his previous fight, he knocked out Ronnie Rios in the 12th round. He won a decision over Jose Velasquez before that. And actually, I should mention also, he holds a victory over Iwasa, who had previously stopped Tapales. So there was every reason to believe, even though he was losing the earlier rounds, that he would play catch-up in the second half of the fight. But he just couldn't find his rhythm. Tapales was really motivated. And I hadn't seen a great deal of Tapales. I don't remember watching much of him. I'd seen quite a bit of Akhmadaliev. And I don't know, I got to wonder whether Akhmadaliev had done his own work with this guy. Because this guy Tapales was constantly moving, that herky-jerky, awkward style. But in the second half of the fight, I'd say from maybe round 7 onwards, Akhmadaliev finally woke up and finally started to let his hands go. And when he did, he was threatening to sort of, well, he was coming back into the fight, but he was threatening to take over. And to Tapales' credit, he didn't allow that to happen. Even in the rounds he lost, he was still firing punches back. He was still saying to Akhmadaliev, you've got to earn every punch you're going to land. You've got to earn every round that you might win. So this continued, and gradually, Akhmadaliev edged back into the fight to the point where he was in the later rounds, in what you might call the championship rounds. I go back to a 15-round fight, so I always think of rounds 13, 14, 15 as being the championship rounds. Since they were abolished, it's 10, 11, 12 of the championship rounds. And sure enough, Akhmadaliev did show a champion's heart and a champion's spirit, but he woke up too late. He just, you know, the first half of the fight, he was always a step behind, always a thought behind. That's what it seemed to me. Well, he definitely finished the stronger of the two fighters. And then we come to the judges' scorecards. I don't think either guy was really hurt in the fight. Not really. There was a punch, I think it was in the last round, where Tapales was sort of staggered and so almost went down, but sort of managed to keep his feet. I mean, a bit of gymnastics involved, but was knocked across the ring. But even then, he didn't appear hurt. Neither guy was really hurt, not really. Even though both were landing flush punches at various times, really good punches. Both guys got good chins, clearly. So, who was it going to be when it went to the cards? The guy from Uzbekistan or the guy from the Philippines? Well, the first card, 115, 113 to Tapales. No argument. If you'd said 115, 113 to Akhmadaliev, I'd have gone, you know. I was thinking, by the way, as we were waiting for the cards to be totaled, I was thinking this could well be a draw. But 115, 113 to Tapales, no argument, no. Then the second card, and this second card was from Javier Alvarez, 118 to 110 in favour of Akhmadaliev. I have no idea what Senor Alvarez was watching. I could live to be 1,000 years old and I wouldn't have an idea. Because there's no way on God's green earth this was a 10-2 fight. Absolutely not. Finally, the third card, and I thought Akhmadaliev's going to get this, and that outrageous card is going to be highly controversial. But no, 115, 113 from Jose Roberto Torres, the third judge, went to Tapales and he won a split decision. He was in tears afterwards. He's done things the hard way. Akhmadaliev slips from being undefeated to 11 wins with 8 KOs and 1 defeat, a split decision loss. Tapales improves to 37 wins with 19 KOs and 3 defeats. 2 of his defeats were on by stoppage. The one to Iwasa back in 2019. And prior to that, I think he lost very early on in his fight. He lost, I don't know, a 6th round or an 8th round or whatever it was, I think. But that was back in back in 2009. So this guy's been around for ages. Like a lot of the Filipino fighters, he turned pro very, very young. 31 now. His dreams come true. He was a former champ previously, WBO bantam champ for a little while. But this time, he's really opened some doors because the winner of, he actually could potentially face the winner of Inoue versus Stephen Fulton. And that would be, you know, I don't know how much money the smaller guys earn. I'm not, don't have any inside info. I'm not au fait with that. But that would be a great legacy fight. And if, you know, I mean, he sprung I wouldn't pick him to beat Fulton or Inoue, but it's a good, you know, he's earned the right to be in that argument. Great win for Tapales. Well done to the Filipino. Bad luck to Akhmadaliev. He can come again, but I think he will learn that over a 12-round fight, even though it's a 12-round fight, even though you carry your power late, you've got to start quite early. You can't give away too many of those early rounds because there's no doubt that Tapales won this fight with the early rounds. So what did you think of this fight? It was on the undercard of Bam Rodriguez and Christian Gonzalez. It was on DAZN. Let me know what you think. Do you think the right guy won? Maybe you think a draw would have been fair. Or perhaps you think Akhmadaliev did enough in the second half of the fight to win. I don't know. You tell me. Let me know your comments. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you could do that, that'd be a big, big help. Much appreciated. Hit the like button as well. That always helps us out. We're building up the channel slowly but surely. And as always, thanks for your time. Take care. Bye for now.